Hello and welcome to this SlimDevOps episode 56. Hey Pete, hey Stephen. So
Hey, Martin.
there's three of us today. It's going to be a
Three
good
of
one
us.
then. It must be one better than usual. Welcome back, Stephen. Good to have you with us.
50% improvement, yeah.
50% improved. The Slim Twitch stream, 50% improved. We're just going to have to learn not to talk over each other, I guess, which I'm doing a bad job of.
So, Stephen, what have you been up to? I mean, it's been a few weeks since you and I were on stream together. What have you been up to in the intervening time?
Well, lots of starter kits, which are going to go up on our website relaunch. Just like, like demo, simple like web servers for a lot of different languages that Slim can work for. One of the projects that's been taking up most of my time was I've been slimming out like a full stack web app that was using like a React front end, a Mongo database, and a Golang API. Spent a lot of time, figuring out how to like, scrap together 3 Slim containers when I started with, well over a gigabyte of containers from the start.
Awesome. That sounds like a really cool app. Excited to see that one.
Yeah, we'll definitely do a little show and tell on that at some point. I think maybe we can set something up as a side sort of office hours type thing we can do with the community. That'd be nifty. What about you, Pete?
Yeah.
I did see you last week, so what have you been up to?
Yeah. I don't even know what I've been up to. I'm drinking a bunch of tea. I got my my Bigelow constant comment tea, which is new for me, but it feels very like frou-frou to me. What else have I been doing? We're getting ready for KubeCon, so that's really exciting. We've been really heads down working on our container report for 2022. So I've talked a ton about that data on stream. We crested 25 gigabytes worth of JSON data in our kind of data set the other day, which was kind of a nice moment. It shows sort of like, this is all just text data. It's not the actual containers. 25 gigabytes worth of containers is not very many containers, as we know. This is 25 gigabytes of text JSON data about containers. And our colleague Aisha, who's been on the stream, is giving a keynote at KubeCon, has some really interesting survey data, some really interesting insights into kind of the world of containers as developers experience them. And we'll be releasing a report at KubeCon alongside of that. So I am like really, really super heads down on that stuff right now, and that's been taking up a ton of my time. So yeah.
I have a question for you, Pete. Are you prepared to sort of hint at something we're going to be doing or sort of launching during the week of KubeCon?
Yeah, I think so. And maybe we could talk about that on stream next week as like a little teaser.
All right.
Because I think it'll be... Well, I can talk about it now. We'll be launching some enhanced container intelligence, basically public container profiles that I can't talk too much about what's in them because it's kind of under embargo and stuff like that. But if you've been on our site and seen some of the insights into public containers that we've talked about or in the container report, you'll be seeing a lot more of that stuff as part of this website redesign that Stephen's talking about. And I'm super excited about it because I love doing content like this, really kind of large scale dynamic content. So why don't we dip into it next week? Maybe out of respect, we can talk about it a little bit more post KubeCon after it's kind of live and public and all that kind of stuff.
Right,
but yeah, we can show the high level there. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
Well,
Martin, what have you been up to?
Well, as for me, I'm still on standard issue Yorkshire tea.
Nice.
English breakfast tea at all hours of the day. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
I've been experimenting with systemd containers. I think I talked about this a little bit last week. In fact, Danny, who's here in chat with us, hello Danny, helped with a project that I've been working on, actually an OBS related project, and to instrument the build processes in GitHub workflows. And it's a workflow I've been using locally, and now I can see it integrating into GitHub Actions. So I'm like thinking, is there a generic tool, even if it's just for myself here? So I had some experiments with some of the systemd tooling to create and manipulate containers for like local build and burn environments. I quickly want to flash up a build environment. I want to launch a big compile job. I want to extract the artifacts and then throw it away. So I've been experimenting with that. And that's been enlightening because it's a different way of sort of playing with containers, and you learn a few new tricks along the way. It's been good.
Yeah, it sounds like a big infrastructure project. Are you doing that over on your own stream? Is that kind of where you're
a
piloting
couple of days ago I did a stream where it's just like, let's just spike this and prototype the idea and see what happened. And I see Yannick is here in chat with us, and he's saying, are we talking about Bob? Bob is the name of the container that I was creating. Yannick was very insistent that the container be called Bob, so that was Bob was being created and destroyed repeatedly during that stream.
poor Bob. I guess it's easy to remember and it's easier to type. As we know, it's always hard to type container names.
I acquiesced in the end because I was trying to avoid using Bob, so I was doing Fred, John, Carol, Susan. I just ran out of names. Anyway, so naturally we're going to be doing container stuff here again today, but this is one of your crazy ideas, Pieter. So why are we here and what are we going to be doing?
Yeah, I love crazy ideas, and I love that you guys are just willing to jump on stream and try these out. We have done research for this one, so I don't think it's super crazy. Also want to say hi, Mert, welcome. Good to see you. Welcome to the chat, and for anybody watching, we're Slim.AI. We work in the container space. We have a container optimization and a set of container dev tools that you can find at Slim.AI, which is our SaaS platform. As Yannick's mentioning in chat, we have an open source project called Docker Slim that you can find on on GitHub. And we also have a Docker desktop extension. So people who are working with Docker locally and have the desktop app, they recently launched an extensions marketplace, an extensions program. We were one of the launch partners of that, one of the early ones that launched at DockerCon. And since they've really been expanding it, and since it is October here, Martin's just rolling his eyes because he's like,
no, I'm looking, thinking I've got nothing that resembles October or Halloween anywhere near me. I can't join in this game.
Well, I was I mean, I'm not promising that we're coming on stream with costumes again, but so they're doing a Hacktoberfest project. Hacktoberfest, just like Advent of Code during the holidays, Hacktoberfest is big time. Developers get together and they do different hack projects, and it's really meant to benefit open source and get people involved. DigitalOcean sponsors one Hacktoberfest. This one is sponsored by Docker, the company, and it's really looking at their extensions. So we said, okay, cool, like our extension isn't open source, it has some proprietary information in it, but we said, hey, we have an extension that can actually look at other extensions, right? It's kind of meta, right? Docker extensions are containers themselves, and they run locally on your desktop. So since we have all these container tools, we can actually like use those to look at the extensions, and then that can help us pick a hackathon project. So I asked you guys, and I did myself, to kind of look through the different hackathon projects that are available, and we'll be a hackathon team, and the community, you can come with us, you guys can join us, and we'll kind of do an exploration, and we'll try to pick a project. And the projects are kind of like twofold, right? Either we could take one of the existing extensions and try slimming it with our tools, that is to say, optimize it, reduce the size, reduce the number of vulnerabilities in it, make it so that it's really ready for production. Or we could go into, the GitHub repositories there and hunt for issues, kind of like the traditional hackathon, and find some issues that we could contribute and be good, Docker community citizens on that. So we're going to share some of this. Spared no expense for the special effects here. Yes, I think these were
I mean,
$3.99 at Target for a pack of 4.
Yannick,
Yeah.
we can't roll out the Hollywood level of special effects like we did for the Halloween special last year. You know, for those of you that were early on in these streams, you know, about a year ago, where we did that whole haunted containers, and it was, pirates and ghost ships, then you know you missed out on an epic experience. Also one of Peter's crazy ideas, I seem to remember.
Also one of my crazy ideas, and I believe we won a Twitch Emmy for that one.
We did.
I think, if there
We
were
did.
such
Yes.
things. Yeah.
I polish it regularly.
Yeah. Mert asks if there is any support for the M1 chip, and I will actually be on an M1 chip today. So I have a Mac Pro with an M1, so you'll see that. And the short answer is yes. Long answer is it depends, of course. Like there's Docker does support M1 and ARM architecture. It does run you into some problems. Despite our CTOs advising me to not get a Mac M1 when I first joined the company because we were going to be working on Docker. I'm glad I did, because it helps us kind of debug some issues, but it isn't quite this streamlined, feeling of being on a Linux kind of Ubuntu AMD 64 chip. But short answer, yes, works perfectly fine on M1. But sometimes when you're building images or sharing images with other people, you can run into issues, and we might run into some of those today as I'm kind of going through some stuff. So, yeah.
So it's a good question, Merritt. We did do another set of crazy projects a couple of months ago, where we made our own Raspberry Pi operating system specifically for running container operating systems, and then created our own optimized base images, and then created containers using those base images, and then uploaded them to the platform to use our tooling. And then we found all of the edge cases where there was sort of slight issues, so that's all been reported back to improve that integration. So yeah. But yeah, if you've got an M1 Mac, it generally speaking it's fine. There's a couple of little caveats to look out for. Hey Corazin, welcome to the stream. And also,
hey, welcome back.
Mert, thank you very much for introducing yourself, and welcome to the stream. So who's going to kick us off by looking at the list of extensions in the Docker Hacktoberfest for fun and interesting stuff?
I think we had a volunteer.
I can do that.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, Steven, go for it.
Let me screen share real quick. Load this page. There we go. We'll just do my whole screen.
Okay.
Are you guys seeing this? It's about to be dive into an infinite loop when we get off.
There it is.
Okay. Right. So let's. Oh, I don't have it open. Let me just go. But GitHub Hacktoberfest. See where the list is. Hacktoberfest.
I think do the Docker.
Docker. Right. That'll send me there.
Yeah.
Right, here we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, I shouldn't have closed this off. Right, so here's our list. Okay. So we've got all these marketplace ones, and then I guess the lower ones are open source.
Oh, and some ideas. I didn't see those yesterday when I was looking. Some of these must be new. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people have been adding pretty recently. I think I've noticed some new ones appearing. Yeah, I think one we wanted to look at was the DDoSify. Hop over. I already have it open in a few tabs. I thought this one was interesting. Lets you load test your own servers.
Huh.
Cool.
So, okay, so this is interesting. So this is actually a sort of a stress testing tool for your thing in a container. Okay, that's nifty.
Yeah, and I think there's a little disclaimer about please use this on your own web servers. No harmful use.
Yeah. I was going to say, is this making it easier for hackers to DDoS your site? But no, I think it's meant as kind of a pen testing or preparedness tool for sure. Martin, we have a couple of questions from people. I think Corazin asked a good question. I don't know if you want to highlight this, and I can jump in on this. And
Go
that'll
on.
set some context. So Corin asks, can you explain the need or desire for Docker desktop extensions? I feel like I'm missing something. Why would I want this? And I think maybe once Stephen does a little exploration, but yeah, so if you show the kind of extensions marketplace, so extensions are a way for companies who are not Docker to build additional functionality into the Docker desktop. So you can see here, and Stephen, maybe if you just like click on ours, because that's the one that I know the best, the Slim.AI. So if you search for the Slim.AI one, you can just click into it in your left side there to show what the extension looks like, or open it up. So if you've used the Slim.AI SaaS, you'll see that a lot of this looks very similar. Like we have our container analysis tools here that you can see inside the container. You can do diffs against different containers. Now, this isn't something that Docker built. This is something that our engineers built, that brings those features and functionality. And the big advantage is for local development. So, we have our SaaS platform that you can go and use, but then your images need to be up in a cloud somewhere. They need to be in Docker Hub or AWS or something like that. And a lot of other companies have that same dynamic, or maybe they have a command line tool, but it's not connected into your Docker Hub, your Docker desktop. So this extensions program, which is brand new, it just launched in May, allows companies or the community, individuals, like we could all just go build a Docker extension if we found something useful. This brings additional functionality directly to the Docker desktop. So it's kind of an alternative to having a bunch of different command line tools. I know DDoSify has a command line interface, but their Docker extensions, the UI is pretty slick. It's pretty easy to use. I was looking at it as well. So yeah.
We can actually, I have the DDoSify like on my system right now. We can
Nice.
get the Explorer right there.
So
Yeah.
hopefully, Yannick, that also answered your question about what a Docker extension is. It's like a Visual Studio Code extension. It extends the functionality of Docker Desktop. But to answer the question of why you would need or desire these things, Pete touched on it. From my point of view, it's the fact that I can iterate on stuff much quicker locally because I don't have to be pushing things to registries in order to use, the various tooling that's out there. I can operate on these containers locally. I can do all of that same stuff, and then when I'm ready to push it to a registry, I'm done. So it accelerates my local workflow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I've definitely seen that experience with things like even the simplest apps built on like a Rust like base image are going to be like a huge issue to be constantly like pulling and that's a slimmed one, like pulling and pushing all the time.
Yeah. So, Stephen, you're showing the Slim.AI desktop extension, which actually analyzes containers on your local desktop. So this would be the same if Stephen was in a CLI, in his CLI, he could do Docker images, and this is the same list that he's looking at. And I think one of the cool things about the Docker desktop extensions is that they're actually Docker containers. So that's the way they work. They're Electron apps on the back end. And I know we've done streams. Our engineers can give talks about how to build one. The Docker team has a bunch of really cool talks that they've done on that as well, if people are interested. But I thought that was really interesting because then you can find them on Docker Hub and you can pull them. And then with our tools, you can come in here and look at them. So yeah,
it's like a weird little meta situation that you were saying earlier, where it's like tooling that can be used on itself.
Yeah, we're in Docker container extension inception right now. So only if we were looking at our own container, I guess, because we do also have a Docker desktop extension, which is a container, etc. Stephen, I wonder if you click on the DDoSify extension itself, that might help people see kind of like what, because you're looking at our extension, which is looking at the container, which is this inception moment. But so DDoSify right here, this is how you would actually use the DDoSify app. I was doing this on my own site actually. So yeah. So what's happening here?
In this like menu?
Yeah, just like what's DDoSify, what's it trying to do, and like how does it work?
Yeah, well, I guess it's like load testing for your own servers, so you can specify request count, duration, and I believe when you load the test, it'll give you some visuals on how the web server responded. I haven't really used this yet. I kind of found it today and started looking into it, but I'm thinking this might be useful in my future because, you know, with my starter kits, I do a lot of like, you know, tweaking on like pretty simple web servers. So if I want to like, you know, verify, you know, that it wasn't just able to respond to my first, you know, like request, you know, that is actually working, I think this would be helpful.
Cool. That is awesome. And hi to Felipe Cruz. Speaking of, this is someone from the Docker Desktop extensions team who we've worked with pretty closely. So welcome to the stream. This, you know, I think there's a few questions in chat. If people have more questions about Docker Desktop extension, we'll do our best to answer them. But Felipe Cruz is actually part of the team that built this. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them, and hopefully he can answer. But welcome to the stream. Good to have you. So.
Yeah, thank you very much for stopping by, Felipe. We might have to lean on your expertise a little bit later on.
Yeah, feel free to course correct us when we're getting stuff wrong. But cool. Should we try this one on Slim.AI? I'm like, let's see it run.
The like analysis or in like the
let's try to DDoS Slim.AI.
On ourselves?
Yeah.
We can handle it. We can handle 100 requests.
We get thousands of requests every
yeah, exactly.
All the time.
Okay. Peter, what's the URL?
Slim.AI.
Or just the Slim.ai?
Yeah, let's just do
it's
the
above
public
my
websites.
head.
Slim.ai, yeah.
Yeah. Just Slim.ai. Okay, 100.
This is where our security dashboard lights up now. just message engineering and let them know.
Well, I have to admit something, which is that I actually use this on my own website, the one that we were doing last week, which I won't tell anybody the URL for because I'm embarrassed about the design. And I was looking at my like Google Cloud Run dashboard, it like spiked, you know, I was like, so much traffic. It's like 100 requests.
Oh yeah.
I get like 0. Yeah. Danny says, did we warn our sysadmin? No, we did not. Sorry. Hopefully they're watching. Hopefully our sysadmins are watching. Okay, cool. So all right, so you did a kind of a DDoS test, a smoke test, so to speak, on the Slim.AI site, and we got some cool. Hey, it looks like the Slim.AI site works pretty well. So okay, cool.
Yeah, look at that. So great response times.
Yeah. So why don't we jump back into, because I do know a little bit about this container.
We do know.
Why don't we jump back into the Slim.AI extension here, and let's like do an analyze on the DDoSify Docker image.
Where to go?
I saw it down there. There's a little. Oh yeah. Hey.
Did I lose it?
No, there it was.
It's like 4th from the bottom.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay. Explore. Oop. Oh, the search just loaded. Okay. I lost it again. Where'd it go? Did it just kick to top? Oh, there it is. Okay. Oop. There we go. Yep. So 5 layers.
Okay.
What's the total size? I think I already did some scans of this on my machine.
Can you have a look at the overview? If you just scroll up and choose overview next to the file explorer. So if we just scroll down here, okay, so this is built with Alpine. That's the first thing that I always find this useful. What in air quotes distro am I looking at? Okay.
Yep.
And have a little scroll down so we can see what else is in the high level to be aware of.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think one of the first thing that jumps out to me about this container, and we saw it kind of in the layer thing there, but also in the uncompressed size, this is a very small image. And I think I'm guessing Felipe can tell us a little bit about their thinking on that. Like, it's good that these images are small generally, you know, the Docker desktop extensions, because they're going to live on your desktop, so you don't want, you know, many gigabyte images or things that aren't well optimized. But I think this DDoSify one in particular is actually like really tiny. I know it's written in Go, and so it has a very small footprint, and it's only kind of like 6 megabytes when it's compressed. So it is a nice kind of tight image. I kind of looked at it to see if we could look into kind of slimming it, and I was like, I don't know if this is a good slimming candidate, because it's, you know, a Go binary kind of wrapped in a Docker extension container, and, you know, might not be super interesting. But Stephen, you said you ran a vulnerability analysis on this one?
Yes, right here. So this was just a local call to gripe, which picked up 28 packages with 0 vulnerabilities.
Okay, cool.
But I also checked it out on the SaaS, which gave me a different result.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, where was it? I think it's this one.
Okay.
That's the Docker file vulnerabilities, right? Yeah. So the gripe didn't pick up any as we'd expect, but this is Trivy, I think, and it picked up 2.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, 1 high risk, 1 unknown risk.
Okay. Interesting.
So it'd be interesting to look into that. I might take a look at this later because this vulnerability has got fixes released in the wild. So I wonder if this is a false positive from Trivy or whether or not it's actually patched in the tooling there. It's worth looking at. So
Yeah.
I mean, I find I've probably said before, I used to be a vulnerability analyst years ago, and man, I would have given my right arm for tools like this back then, because it was all by hand. It was extremely time consuming, and now you can click a button and get these reports. And even if there's a little bit of like inaccuracy from time to time, sometimes you see, a false positive with one of the scanner engines, but even that gets you so much farther so quicker by having all of these tools available.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was actually going to show the Trivy scanner, so I wonder if we could even show the Trivy extension to look into these even more. I'm guessing that this is something. I mean, this is a pretty small and kind of well optimized image, so it's pretty interesting. So okay, cool. Stephen, what other extensions were you looking at? Because I think you said you investigated this one and then you were looking at a few others. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first to respond to what you're saying about it being a small, pretty optimized image, I've been a little bit more wary around assuming that small images are low vulnerability, on that Mongo project I was talking about earlier, Martin, if you remember that that environmental sidecar container, which was 5 megabytes. I wasn't really looking that closely into it, and then near the end of the project I did a scan on it and it was 70 vulnerabilities, 20 of them critical, and I was able to get rid of almost all of them with Docker Slim. But this one with the scans, it seems to be very well taken care of.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But yeah, we can hop over back to the list.
Cool.
Their extensions. Where is it? Yeah.
Now I'm really curious to see you do the demo on that Go Mongo React app.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll do 2 streams next week. So we'll set some time aside just to dig into that, because I'd like having. I'm not sure how much help I was, but having had a look at that, I'd be interested to see the results as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Flea makes a point in this. We were talking about kind of single images. He also makes the point that an extension can be composed of multiple containers through a Docker Compose file. So that's pretty cool. And I think we've seen a few people who have done that with kind of the React and then something else running. And that you can even have an extension that is just a front end that has no containers. Oh, okay. I actually didn't know that. I didn't know that you could have ones that are just front ends, and then presumably they're so are those interacting with the local environment then, or they're kind of connecting up to some API somewhere and kind of getting information back? I'm interested in that. That's cool. So cool. All right, Stephen, what else were you looking at?
Yeah. So I would have liked to look at the Lacework scanner on the subject of vulnerability scanners, but I think we need this is just the wrapper that repository leads to for the extension. I think we would need a license to run that scanner. I think you and Martin were talking about Alfresco, which I haven't really looked at. There was also was it Postman and Secret Scanner that we had some interest in looking at?
Yeah, well, you might be stealing me and Martin's thunder. So, we're so as a reminder, Stephen is our co-op from the wonderful Northeastern University, and he's always very thorough on everything. And when Martin and I are asked to do homework, we do one thing and just the bare minimum. And It's always A+ content.
Shush,
It's always A+
shush.
content.
Mhm.
Cool. So you're talking about Lacework. Let's look at Postman. I wasn't
Sure.
going to talk about
Yeah.
Postman too much, so let's look at that one.
I think I actually did clone this on my machine already.
Cool.
But we can look at the markdown here.
Cool. So
Docker
Postman, I know Postman as the kind of way you test API and post and get calls and know what an API is sending you in terms of JSON payloads and all that kind of stuff. Is this the same Postman?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, cool. And so they have a Docker extension, and what does it do? Does it just basically provide Postman in the Docker desktop then?
Why don't we search and see if it's on the marketplace?
So it looks like it runs their sort of command line tooling, which I think can be used to sort of like test endpoints and stuff like that.
Okay.
Looks like it's just open source right now and not on the
But
marketplace.
my understanding is this isn't from Postman. This is a community contributor that's built this extension around the Postman tooling.
Oh, okay, yeah. So this might even be a hackathon project itself, or it's something from the community.
Yeah.
Somebody's building
Right,
it.
right.
That's cool. That's cool.
We'd need a Postman API key to like use this properly.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Cool. Okay. I did see that they were looking, I think in this one, I kind of poked around this repository a little bit. If you go up to issues in this one, Stephen, up to the top. So this is for people who aren't super familiar, and maybe if you could just zoom in a little bit so people can see. If people aren't super familiar with just hackathons or Hacktoberfest in general, it's a really great way to get involved with open source projects. For me, I don't do a lot of like contributing via GitHub and stuff like that. So it's an easy way for beginners to kind of contribute content, get some of your first PRs merged and learn how some of that stuff works. And here, these guys have actually tagged different issues as Hacktoberfest. So they're very obviously participating in the Docker-sponsored Hacktoberfest, which is really cool. And I kind of looked at that like increased test coverage. I know we haven't talked a ton about tests on this stream, only to say that mostly the people in chat and the community does not like writing tests. So, but I was thinking maybe that could be an interesting project that we could maybe pick up, would be, to help these guys out writing some tests, because I think we could do that on stream and it would be kind of fun and informative. But I also see Monica has joined us in chat. So hi, Monica. Nice seeing you. As always, haven't seen you in a long time. Great to see you. Danny is reminding Stephen to turn off his notifications when he's on stream. So always a good learning.
And we've got a question from Mert as well, which I missed a bit earlier. So Mert asks, are there any ML specific extensions that would be better for me if there's any extension built for ML ops or data science? Well, that is a great question. It's a shame Aisha isn't here with us, who's one of our colleagues, who's our in-house data scientist, and also Eric, who goes by our podcast, who's part of our community and is often joins us. He's also a data scientist, and I bet each of them would know. What I will do in the background is I will have a little look in the marketplace and see if I can find anything, because I'm certain I've seen some for sure. And maybe Felipe, if you know of some, feel free to share those as well.
Yeah, I feel like a Jupyter notebook Docker extension is like overdue. Yeah, I think generally we tend to see the application kind of side of the house like start first, and then sort of the ML ops people kind of come in later. I think we know that containers for ML ops or for ML tend to be really big. The PySpark and TensorFlow and all of those containers tend to be really big. So I think it could be pretty interesting. I guess, Mert, one thing for you, I mean, like, which ones are for ML ops? I'm like, use the Slim.AI one. But if you do have those containers running locally on your machine, you can use the Slim.AI tool to look inside those containers, understand what's in them, understand kind of why they're so big, and do they have the models and the libraries that you need in them. So that would be one recommendation. I'm not saying we're a data science tool, because we're not really.
I'm by no means an expert on this, but I have like worked with one like Jupyter Notebook ML app, and one thing I noticed, and I know Aisha talked a lot about how these data science containers like and projects in general are very often like not using best practices. Like the one that I used, was on its own, I think a 2 or 3 gigabyte container. And then, once you load up the container, you're pulling like a 5 gigabyte model from the web.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even like you could probably
Yeah.
benefit from a lot of just
Yeah.
quality of life apps like
Yeah.
this. Volumes
That's
backup. Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
great call. I have a really good friend. I won't out him by name, but he runs data science for one of the large hospital systems here in the Boston area. And he was telling me a story about Docker containers where they were trying to share some data. They had a model which was relatively small, but then the data set was huge and they didn't know what to do with it. They couldn't share it. They didn't know what to do. So they just bundled it into the container, and the container was 26 gigabytes.
Oh
and
my
they
God.
put it in like a Dropbox or something.
Wow.
Felipe's
Yeah.
probably like, yo, no, don't do that. And I was like, that's not the way you're supposed to do it. He's like, yeah, I know. We just didn't know what else to do. So volumes backup, I think for sure is one of those utility noise that could be worthwhile. So
I've used all of the like utility extensions from Docker, and they're all extremely useful for just sort of that like overview, mindfulness of what you've got, what you're working on.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, so I think we got 2 ideas there, and we can kind of maybe we can move on to Martin. Martin can kind of share his homework with the class. But it sounds like, so the 2 ideas because there is going to be a vote later, community here. The 2 ideas so far are doing some work with the DDoSify container image itself to see if we can do anything with those guys and help them understand the container better, or maybe we can track down and see if that vulnerability is real or not. And the second would be to help Postman with some of their tests. So Postman and DDoSify are sort of the first 2 ideas for our hackathon project.
So this was why I was interested in looking at those vulnerability assessments, because I was thinking if there is a genuine vulnerability in one of those containers, then maybe fixing that is like, a way to contribute. So that's why I'm going to take a look at that one a bit later on. But I've got the list of extensions up here, and there was one that jumped out at me when I was looking through yesterday, and it's this one here called Secret Scanner. And this one seems to be moving fast. So nice. I'm going to guess that this was actually like created for this event. So this is a Docker extension for Deep Fence Secret Scanner, and it looks for accidental inclusion of secrets in your Docker container or containers. So it's an extension, and I really like this because as you saw earlier, Stephen was using our integrated vulnerability assessment tool to perform security scans of containers. In our own metadata analysis, we pull out things like files with special permissions and certificate bundles and a whole bunch of insightful stuff like that. And I just saw this and I was like, oh man, this would sit so well alongside those tools. So this is what I really like. So yeah, I thought this looked fabulous. So they have only one issue. So when I looked yesterday, they had a selection and there's only one left here. So add GitHub actions for building the extension image. Oh, okay. Well,
that's something we know how to do.
That's something we know how to do. Yeah. And looking at you, Danny. So Danny, I know you're here. I know that this is like a specialist subject of yours. We're actually looking to assemble not just ourselves and other people from Slim, but some of the community as well to sort of collab on some of these. It would be kind of nice if we could, put a few things together. Hello, Danny, I see you. Thank you for raising a hand. So yeah, that could be a good one to take a look at. But they've already addressed some of the others that I was looking at yesterday. But I love the idea of this project.
I think it's really cool. One, I lose a lot of sleep over, mostly on stream, because I never did any public coding until I met you all folks and started doing it on this crazy thing that did I push something to the Slim Containers repo that has my my credentials in it, or is there a container out there that I've built that I just accidentally included my .env file? So I love this project. I think it's really cool. I guess, Martin, one thing, if you go back up to the issues, I just wanted to check, because one of the things in Hacktoberfest, or just kind of all hackathon, just I guess open source projects in general, is that people tend to kind of like come in and claim issues, or they say, hey, I was gonna work on this one, can you assign it to me? Which is usually a way of kind of preventing duplicate work. However, I have noticed very often, sometimes these things go undone, just the person gets busy or they can't honor the commitment or whatever, and then the issue is still available. So as long as this one's still available, I think it's a great project.
It looks like someone has put their hand up to say that they want it, and it's been assigned to them, so somebody's going to be working on this for them. Bother. That would have been a great one. But nevertheless, one of the things I'm going to be looking at is how this container is composed, how big it is, because even helping some of these projects create slim containers of their extensions is something that we could do for them. So that's something else that I'm keen to look out for, not just this project, but some of the others as well.
I wonder, and I don't know if this is possible. Maybe Danny can tell me if I'm crazy on this one, because I know she knows a lot about GitHub Actions. Would it be crazy to build a generic GitHub action for any Docker extension build that we could then make available to the entire extension community? Because I'm guessing this isn't the only Docker extension that needs a GitHub action to build it when new code commits come in. So there's an idea. I don't know if that's possible. Maybe it's too specific per code base, but
I mean, other than if people are using React, if you assume React, then it should be fairly possible to create a good starter template that works for most people most of the time.
Cool.
But that's an interesting idea as well, which is, here's a GitHub action to build and publish your Docker extension. Yeah, that's not bad. Well, we'll have to see if one of those exists maybe as well.
Right. Now we're getting really meta. Now we're really meta exception, right? Like an extension that is actions to build extensions in the extension marketplace. And then we could look at that with the Slim tool, and then we'd be an extension looking at an extension to build an extension to, et cetera, et cetera. Danny says that might be doable. You can write complete actions in JavaScript, for example. Okay, that's cool. That's really cool. I mean, I can't do that because my JavaScript skills, but some people could do that. So nice.
I suppose they could add another a tab to the Docker desktop app for extensions for extensions.
It's like a whole new category on Docker Hub. Extensions for extensions.
So that was the one that I thought looked most interesting. I obviously spotted Postman as well. I've done work with Postman in the past, and that leapt out at me because I really like that project. But those were the ones that I was most interested in. I like the idea there's some sort of, these things don't exist, these would be good ideas. I kind of like that. I feel like there's probably more scope for whole new extensions that don't exist to be created. I haven't thought of a good one for myself yet, but Yannick, I imagine it would be called Quick Something, but I don't know what it would do.
Yannick's got some good ideas for some extensions there that he might be voluntelling you for here pretty soon. But
okay. Quick action, here it is. Oh gosh. So yes, by accident we've kind of created this quick prefix branding for a number of the projects in the community, so everything has to be Quick Something now. Right, okay. So Pete, what did you take a look at?
So Stephen and I were both on the DDoSify train, and so I was looking at that one, but I guess my assumption was that as a 6 megabyte image, it wasn't going to be that interesting to Slim. But now that we've seen, maybe there is an opportunity to maybe, remove an unused file in there, perhaps, or although maybe not, it might be a false positive. I also, so people who know me know that I have a journalism background, and I worked in publishing for a while, and we spent a lot of time looking at different CMS systems. And the thought occurred to me that we actually haven't done CMS systems on this stream. We've done a lot of containers with Node and Python and Rust and Go. We've looked at a lot of DevOps stuff like GitLab and GitHub and all of those kinds of things, but we haven't really like dove into CMSs. And I know for a fact that WordPress, I think, is actually will need to check me on this because she has all the data from the container report, but I believe that WordPress might be like the #1 container in terms of image pulls for ones that are like not base images, not kind of starting points, you know, the #1 kind of its own third-party app. Anyway, WordPress has tons and tons of pulls. A lot of people use it in containers. Alfresco is a CMS that I've used a number of times in different kind of aspects. So I saw this on the on the hackathon list. It's in there. It looks like this is, I don't think it's a community image, but it might be a fairly new one, or maybe it's waiting to get into the marketplace. I know the marketplace updates with every new Docker version update. So I just updated mine right before we started this project, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many extensions now. When we first started out, there were only like, I don't know, 15 or 20 or something like that. So there's a lot now. And I said, we could do actually probably two things in here. I wasn't able to load up this container. I didn't try, to be honest. With these community images, there is a way to kind of sideload these containers into the Docker, into Docker Desktop just locally. And there's some instructions here on how to do that. I think most people have instructions. We had an instruction like that for a little while because we were one of the community images for a bit. But before it gets into the marketplace, you can actually still get these images, use the make file to build them, and then, kind of load them into the extension. It looks to me like this is just running an instance of Alfresco on your local machine, which I think is pretty cool. And so my thought was maybe we could just slim an Alfresco instance as kind of a cool way, and that would be like one part of the hackathon project, and then we could look at the extension itself and see if we could either slim the extension or what the difference is. Maybe this is a utility set for Alfresco that'll tell us stuff about it, but we could just do some comparison in there, and then maybe we can see if there's a way to provide users like a way of slimming their Alfresco instances that we could make available to people, and that would be kind of a nice community. It's not exactly a hackathon project, but I thought it was kind of a cool thing, similar to I think the project that we were just looking at. The issues that they had in here are, there weren't as many issues that I felt like were addressable from like a community perspective in this particular project. It seems like there's a lot of stuff that's kind of like, I don't know that I want to add a code of conduct for them, or, I'm not sure I'm capable of getting the containers running on Apple Silicon, even though I do have Apple Silicon, but, Corazon was, this is the type of issue, Corazon, that you run into sometimes with Docker. Like the M1 support's getting a lot better. But sometimes people still run into kind of one-off issues. I know we've seen that with our own stuff. Just takes a little savviness on the architecture piece. So that was kind of my big thought, was we could slim Alfresco. We could use that to kind of test the Alfresco Docker extension. And with that, we'd kind of learn about sort of side-loading containers into Docker Desktop itself. And maybe if we see a couple issues that we could work on, it would be there. So that was mine.
That's a great idea. I like that one a lot. It kind of segues with what you were doing last week with, your content management system, which was multi-stage builds, where you build the assets for your site and then you bolt that on in a multi-stage to a web server, and then you get this really tight container at the other side. So I like the idea of exploring this. It's cool.
Yeah.
Now go on.
We were probably jumping on the same question. Felipe is asking if our Slim.AI Docker Desktop extension, does it give you a way to slim image? And the short answer, or the answer, is no. We didn't build that in. We've only recently kind of made that available in our SaaS platform. So at Slim.AI, if you go to the Get Started button and you log in, then there's a really robust set of optimization tools. And I think that's just like kind of a major feature lift. And I think one of the, so we're talking about the best kind of way to do that. I think what we heard honestly from the Docker community itself was that the kind of visualization and dev tools were the things that they were the most interested in. So we thought that was the most useful. Our extension does have a way to log into our platform directly from the extension. So you could then go push your images up to Docker Hub. You'd have them in your Slim SaaS portal, and then you could optimize them and pull them down. I'll have to check with Josh, our product manager, about when exactly or what we're thinking about for optimization in the extension. I'm not sure if that's something that we're planning to add or if it would be something separate. So,
yeah. So coming soon, maybe. But we'll watch this space. We'll keep you appraised. But
yeah, I know there were a couple use case kind of questions on that one. I think it was more complicated than just we don't have time and it's coming soon. I think there were actually some some bigger concerns about the way kind of things operated. So we'll have to get what those are. So,
yeah. Here are some examples of ones that I was experimenting with for security analysis where I built the same thing, and you can see all of the Slim ones here. So these were all optimized in our platform. So there's the optimize button right there, and you can see I was optimizing Alpine based images. So those are called Alpine and distroless. This is my app in several different base images with different container composition techniques, and you can have good results even if you've got what on the surface appears to be a well optimized sort of artisanal container. Even if it's Alpine and it's Go and it's best practice, there's still savings to be had. So that was an interesting bit of exploration.
Awesome. We have people vying for the director of naming in the chat, so we will obviously hire a naming person. I had a terrible name for a new feature that we're working on that our developers kind of nixed today. So even though I'm kind of the growth and marketing guy here, I am not allowed to name things. Felipe says
usually you're on point, but you seem to take into detour today.
yeah it was a little I was really happy about it, but
oh, that's rotten. I feel bad now. It's my fault.
No, it's okay. Not every good idea is a good one. So but yeah, and then Felipe says, I'm a huge fan of building Slim images, and I've been using Docker Slim with the HTTP probes a lot. The work you're doing is amazing. Well, thank you so much. It's really nice. Yeah, it's really been taking off. We've been getting a lot of interest in the open source project at Docker Slim. Been getting a lot of signups to Slim.AI. I think a lot of people are meeting us for the first time through the Docker extension and using those tools for visualization and comparison, analyze your image, see how it differs between different images, especially with the local use case. Then they log into our platform and kind of discover a lot of this stuff, or they go to Docker Slim and discover some of those tools. So really cool.
Yeah, Corazin was asking earlier, why would they need or want this in your life? Stephen, you've got a fan. Why would you need or want Docker extensions in your life? And one of the things that I love about the extension framework is this, and it's using the Slim.AI extension. Whenever I work on code, I work on the code in Visual Studio Code, and before I push it up to Git, I always review it and do sort of a solo code review. By looking in Git Kraken at the code that I've worked on, and it's helpful for spotting any silly mistakes before I, push code up. It's a sort of a check and balance in my own discipline. And using the Docker extension and Slim.AI, I'm able to do the same thing. I'm able to work on containers locally, and then I can do a comparison between the one that I have up in my registry and the one I've been working on, and I can do a side-by-side comparison. And it's a bit like doing a code review, but it's like a container review. What's changed? What's changed between the one I'm working on and the one that I've got, and have I done anything silly in the process? Now, usually I'm looking for things like, have I accidentally leaked secrets into my container image, which was why I was interested in that secret scanner, because it was like, that's another tool I can now run as part of my, sanity checks and all the rest of it. So, that's a little sort of addition to why I love these extensions. And also, Felipe, I have to say, whoever on your team is working on the Linux client, because I only run desktop Linux, I have to say I love how good that's got. It's come on leaps and bounds from the early preview builds. I no longer feel like... We had the Docker runtime for so many years, but having the desktop now for Linux, I don't feel like a second-class citizen in any regard when it comes to my development tools on my machine. It's absolutely great to have access to all of this stuff.
Yeah. One of the comments about the HTTP probes, and actually your workflow that you were just describing, Martin, I think is interesting, Stephen, for the starter kits, right? So you talked about these a little bit at the top of the hour, and these are things that we're going to publish. People on stream can actually find some of them, the beginnings, we're still working on them, but the beginnings of them in our GitHub repo at /SlimDevOps. Slim containers are the one that we use on the stream all the time. I don't know if we can put it in chat. But Stephen, maybe walk us through kind of like just at a high level what these are, because I think like what you could do with these is you could pull the starter kit, right? You could just pull the image from that and or the code from that, build a container, right? And then that's a simple web application in many different frameworks. Talk us through what you're doing there and like what that use case looks like.
Yeah, I mean, the idea here is, kind of have proof of concept for like as many like, frameworks and languages we can for a simple web server. And I think definitely, these extensions can be helpful for, quality of life a lot in the development process. And I do think, especially when you're, automatically modifying a container, using Docker, whether with Docker Slim or the SaaS, it is useful to have this kind of tooling that can kind of make the I remember when I started here, a lot of the feedback we were getting was like, how do I trust this? This seems like black magic. And then being able to use like, in combination these extensions to, compare the images to, maybe even, bombarding the little web server that you messed with 100 requests instead of just, curling it once. That seems like something that could definitely benefit me in the future.
Yeah, and I think once we're finished with this, I think our idea is that people could use those as starting places. Because that's the question a lot of people ask. They just don't really understand exactly how to get started and what the optimization tools, what Docker Slim is doing. So with these, you'd have working app code. You have a working web server that you've been working on in many different languages. And let's say you're a Python developer or a Rust developer or Node developer, you could then just drop your app code for your website, replace our Hello World stuff with whatever you have running, install your dependencies, build the container, run it, and then you could use all of our tools, the Docker Desktop extension to see what's going on inside the container. You could do comparisons, vulnerability scanning on our cloud, and you could just run the optimization and it'd kind of be ready for you to work already. So rather than bring your sort of own complicated app coming, from day one, start with sort of a hello world and then move forward. I think it's really cool. I'm really excited about that project. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Now I noticed that Danny was commenting here on sort of Git workflows and how they like to do piecemeal Git commits, like the kernel contributions require. That's the Linux kernel, the only kernel, where you break up large chunks into self-contained commits. And yeah, I love that, and Git Kraken is what opened up that workflow to me, because I sit here in the evening and I pound away at the keyboard like a happy kitten, and then I have a whole bunch of stuff. I've worked on a dozen different features, all at different stages of completedness, but I can go through and pick out those hunks in the UI and then commit those as sort of what look like well thought through features and contributions. And then I saw Corazin says, so I see on the extension Quick Start, it says React and Go. How easy would it be to use Vue.js and Elixir to make your extension instead? Now, Go on, Pete. You've got something to say.
Oh, I was about to say something, but I'm so glad we have Felipe here because I was wrong. I know our team ended up porting, and maybe it's just because we were early days, and we also have some really good React people on staff. We're built in Vue, I believe, and our team can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we ported our UI from Vue to React in order to use the extension. But now Felipe is saying that you can actually build it in whatever you want. And the React and Go is just an example. So I could be wrong about that, and ours is built in Vue now, or it could be that that's sort of more of a recent phenomenon. I'm not sure what the answer is there. So yeah, it's cool. That's awesome. I guess it holds with the Docker container ethos, right? Like build in whatever framework you want, and that's up to you. So that's super cool. And yeah, CMart, thanks for the kind words. Said some nice things about our content and the conversation. It's getting late where he is, so it's going to bail, but all good. Good seeing new people on stream.
Indeed. And on that point, I would just like to say, for those of you that followed today, thank you very much. You've tipped us over the 400 follower mark on Twitch.
Amazing.
So that's good news.
We'll do 3 streams next week. One for a celebration.
Yeah, I think so. Do we get anything cool on Twitch with 400 followers, or do we need more stuff?
No. Technically, we could apply to be affiliate, but we're withholding that offer because we're going to do something that the affiliate program won't allow us to do. So yeah, I've been working on some things for this stream because we've got some stream related stuff we need to be leaning on over the coming sort of couple of months. So I decided to use this as an opportunity to sort of inject some new features into how we present this stream and what we can do. And if anyone has seen my own streams, then you've got an idea of what's coming.
That is amazing. And I just want Yannick's little parachute game.
Yeah.
I don't want to steal that from him because I think it's awesome. But every time I'm on his stream,
I have that on my stream now.
Okay.
Yeah, I've added that to my getting started screen. So as the stream is coming up, people can play that game. I totally stole it from Yannick, and he's fine with it.
Okay. I was going to give him credit. French guy CH. If you are not following him on stream and you want to play a really fun game when he's streaming, go over there, or you can follow Wimpy's World, of course, too. Cool, super cool. Well, I think the last thing we have to do is just let's do a summary of the projects that we've looked at, and we'll pick our hackathons. So we looked at DDoSify, and we said, hey, we could do something with DDoSify, maybe do some investigation of their actual container. We looked at Postman, and they were looking for some help with some test suites, which I think are always good to go over. We looked at Secret Scanner, and even though their issues seem to be a hot topic and a lot of people are taking them, I'm guessing they'll have more issues come up, and so maybe we can just keep an eye on them, or maybe we could do some more investigation of the Secret Scanner container, or maybe we could just hook it up to make sure that none of the containers that are in our current Docker Hub setup have any secrets in them that Pieter may have accidentally put there.
That's also a great idea. That's another great idea.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's on theme for Halloween. It's like we're going and we're hunting for ghosts.
Yeah. That's like scary. Oh, I could put secrets in containers.
Oh, don't give him ideas. You had me doing this last year.
Then
he had a bunch of evil bugs in containers, and then had me dress up like a ghost pirate going hunting for these.
It seems like there's a lot of requests for dressing up like.
Oh no!
Well, I don't know that we would do ghost pirates again. We might need to come up with a different storyline. Yeah, maybe.
It's either that or antelopes. Those are the only costumes I've got.
What? No, there's like there's like those live TV shows. There's like they go into like the house and they like set up all the cameras.
Yeah. Ghost hunters and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, like Paranormal Activity. I also have many questions that I don't think we can answer in the time allotted as to why the only 2 outfits that you have are a pirate outfit and an antelope outfit. But
I'm not even going to answer it. I'm
costume
just
and
going to
you
let people
debug
guess.
Python projects. Yes. Okay. All right. Lots of ideas. I think. Okay. And then finally, I don't know. I kind of feel like we've already chosen our topic, because I was going to say we could do my alfresco thing, but we could do that anytime. Kind of feels like everybody in stream is vibing with this secret scanner idea. I don't want to tip the hand on the vote, but
Peter, I think your idea of like hiding secrets in a container sounds like the worst kid's birthday party idea ever.
yes. You really want to bored your kids to death. As somebody with a 5-month-old, I always thought that was a joke, but you really do want to do this, because a sleeping baby is a wonderful thing. Yeah, if you really want to bore your kids to death.
It could be a test case. Yeah. You could create containers with secrets in it to use as test cases for the secret scanner.
Yeah. Okay. So killer clowns then. Yeah, killer clowns are a lot better.
I think what I'm learning from the engagement over this Halloween conversation is that Halloween special has been confirmed. And I'm gonna have to think about costumes.
Amazing. Yes. Welcome Alex Trost. If you guys aren't following Alex Trost, an amazing front-end developer that we were talking about last week. He runs a stream and a community called Front End Horse. And so welcome on stream. We're just to get you caught up. We're doing the Docker Hacktoberfest hackathon. We have a few people from the Docker team here who are helping us out with this. And we were going through some of the Docker desktop extensions, which are these really cool, mostly React and Vue apps that load into the Docker desktop app. We had a few ideas. We investigated a bunch of different hackathon topics, including using Postman, an app called DDoSify that helps you kind of smoke test your own site, a secret scanner to make sure you're not shipping secrets in your Docker containers, or Alfresco, the CMS system. It sounds like we were starting to rally around the idea of hiding secrets in containers and then using the secret scanner to see if we can find them. And that would serve as test cases that we could then give back to the secret scanner project, which is pretty cool. And for people who haven't seen our stream or weren't with us last October, I set up a similar challenge for Barton last October called Cursed Containers, where we dressed up as pirates, and Martin was an evil pirate captain set to break a curse by fixing a bunch of bugs in a cursed container. So I have been promising / threatening that we would dress up in costumes again on stream. I promised we would not do that, but now it sounds like the community is
I'm checking my employment contract after this stream. But that archive is on our YouTube channel, so youtube.com/SlimDevOps, and you can find last year's Halloween special with visual effects and everything. I hasten to add it was it was probably the best streaming that we've ever done. It was probably the best streaming that anyone has ever done. I mean,
anyway, well, I don't know if the Front End Horse Christmas special, since I have Alex in chat, I will say that thing was amazing. And if you guys follow that, I think I got a lot of inspiration from Alex's stream to do the cursed containers. So let's try that. So we'll do this, right? So in our Discord community, which you can find at Slim.AI, which is right over there-ish, opposite reverse camera, you'll find a link to our Discord. Drop into Discord, and we'll start a chat in Discord about the theme, our curse. What's the curse of the secret container? And we'll rally around a theme, and then we'll build some content around that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's starting to sound almost like a web CTF situation.
Yeah.
Where the secrets that we find could have like hidden clues in them.
Ooh. Yeah.
Or Halloween jokes as well.
Yeah. I think we had to put a bunch of clues in the last one, otherwise it was a little too hard to figure out. So, but yeah, that sounds great.
So yes, above my head, that's the website. The Discord link is in there. Those of you that aren't in there, join the Discord. We will coordinate our activities over the next couple of weeks, and we'll see what difference we can make to at least the secret scanner project, and all of the others are up for grabs as well. If you've been inspired by anything that Stephen and Pieter have shown, then we can totally take a look at those and work on some stuff there. I'm interested in looking at the vulnerabilities that may or may not exist in some of those containers, seeing if we can actually fix those as well. So we've got loads of ideas to work on.
Yeah.
Is it time to put a bow on it, do you think? And we can actually then go to our Discord, and start thinking about where we go from here.
Yeah.
Before we go, I just saw in chat, Goo Friend. That's a friend from my high school computer science class that's studying computer science at Pitt right now.
Oh, amazing. Welcome.
Well, welcome to the stream.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to thank the community for sharing my password in the chat, as they all well know my password is test, by the way.
So we'll know which ones are your secrets that you've dropped into containers, because the password will be test.
It is a secret. I wonder if I could make a container with that in there and it will get picked up. Now, I see that Anthony Wright's Code is streaming. They're working on some stuff at the moment. I think they mostly do Python related dev stuff. So what we're going to do is, as we say, thank you all for coming, and we look forward to working with you on some of these ideas in the coming weeks. We're going to be back here on Thursday, and Stephen and I are going to have a chat. We're going to figure out a date for next week to dig into the containers you were working on, the Mongo collection, and we'll try and feed another one in on a day next week. But if you're in our Discord or following SlimDevOps on Twitter, you will see the notifications for what we're going to do on that. So with that, we'll just press that button to queue things up. Is there anything you want to add before we sign off, Pete?
No, just thank you guys for all the engagement. It's great meeting everybody. Welcome to the new people. Give us a follow, and yeah, we will see you here same time next week. So,
indeed, thank you all for coming. Let's go raiding. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye bye.
All right.